They announced Cole Murphy's promotion during Thursday's all-hands meeting at 9:47 a.m. Vice President of Engineering, effective immediately, with a compensation package that included a $180,000 base salary, a $75,000 increase from his current project director position. The conference room erupted in applause. I clapped along with everyone else, maintaining the same neutral expression I'd developed over 20 years of watching less qualified people climb past me. My name is Garrett Stone. I'm 55 years old, and I just watched the junior engineer I trained from day one leapfrog me into the VP position, while I received what amounts to pocket change for 9 years of work. What they didn't announce was my compensation adjustment. That came later, delivered privately by Beverly Walsh, our VP of Human Resources, in a hastily scheduled 3:30 p.m. meeting that lasted exactly 12 minutes. Garrett, we want you to know how much Apex Construction Solutions values your contributions. Beverly said, sliding a single-page document across her desk. Your mentorship of Cole has been invaluable to his development and our organization's success. We're pleased to offer you a loyalty recognition bonus of $12,000 payable over the next 6 months. I read the document twice. $12,000 spread over 6 months, approximately $2,000 per month before taxes, for 9 years of training the person who just received a $75,000 raise. This is a one-time recognition payment, I said, keeping my voice level, not a salary adjustment. That's correct. We feel this appropriately recognizes your mentorship contributions while maintaining our compensation structure integrity. I signed the acknowledgement form. Beverly seemed pleased that I hadn't argued. She had no way of knowing that I'd stopped arguing with Apex Construction Solutions approximately 8 months ago, when I realized that competence and loyalty were liabilities in their promotion calculus, not assets. Before I explain what happened next, let me establish exactly what those 9 years looked like. I joined Apex in March 2007 as a senior project manager with expertise in structural engineering and large-scale infrastructure development. At 38 years old, I'd already spent 15 years in construction, working my way up from site supervisor to project management. The company was mid-sized then, but had 180 employees focused on providing construction management for state highway projects and commercial developments. My role was designing load-bearing frameworks and ensuring structural integrity for projects that had to meet strict state engineering standards. Cole Murphy joined in September 2007 as a junior engineer, fresh from State University, with a civil engineering degree and exactly 0 practical experience in large-scale construction projects. He was 24 years old, enthusiastic, and completely overwhelmed by the complexity of state highway construction requirements. His first assignment was assisting me with the Interstate 94 Bridge Expansion Project, a $32 million initiative to reinforce aging infrastructure while maintaining traffic flow. I spent 8 weeks teaching him the fundamentals, how to calculate load distributions, how to design seismic-resistant support structures, how to coordinate with state transportation authorities who could shut down entire projects if specifications weren't met exactly. The kids struggled initially, confused basic engineering principles, made calculation errors that would have gotten him terminated if anyone else had been reviewing his work. I covered for him, corrected his mistakes before they reached state inspectors, walked him through every structural protocol until he understood not just the implementation, but the engineering logic behind it. Spent evenings after regular work hours explaining compliance frameworks that should have been prerequisites for the position. By month 6, Cole was functional. By month 12, he was competent. By year 3, he was genuinely skilled at the technical work. I had essentially provided him with a graduate-level education in infrastructure engineering, while maintaining my own project responsibilities and deadlines. Here's the thing. During those 9 years, I guided Cole through 73 distinct construction projects. I taught him how to build structural frameworks that Apex eventually sold as proprietary methodology to other clients. I brought him into strategy meetings with state transportation officials and coached him beforehand on how to present technical engineering concepts to non-technical government administrators. I introduced him to industry contacts that became his professional network. When Apex won the State Route 27 overpass contract in 2009, a $32 million engagement that became our largest state relationship, I designed the initial structural framework that secured the deal. Cole had assisted, but the core methodology was mine. By 2012, when that contract renewed at $38 million annually, Cole was presenting the updated engineering frameworks to the State Transportation Board using structural designs I taught him to build. I never received credit in those board presentations, My name appeared in project documentation, buried in technical appendices as Senior Project Manager, Infrastructure Design. Cole's name appeared on presentation slides as Lead Project Engineer, Strategic Implementation. The pattern was consistent. I built the structural frameworks. Cole delivered them to clients with the confidence and presentation skills I'd coached him to develop. State officials saw Cole in client meetings, saw his polished presentations, assumed he was the primary engineer behind the construction solutions. By 2013, Apex had grown to 280 employees. Cole had been promoted to project director, a lateral move to my position despite having 7 years less experience. His salary had increased to $105,000. Mine had increased to $110,000, a $5,000 difference for someone with 7 additional years of expertise and responsibility for every significant structural framework in our division. I raised this disparity with Beverly in my 2013 performance review. Her response was diplomatic but clear. "Garrett, you're incredibly valuable as a technical specialist, but Cole has demonstrated client-facing skills and innovative thinking that align with our growth trajectory. We need different types of talent for different roles." Translation: Cole was better at corporate politics and executive visibility. I was better at actual structural engineering. Apex valued the former more than the latter. I stopped pushing for promotions after that conversation. Instead, I focused on documenting everything. Every framework I designed, every methodology I developed, every client relationship I maintained, every hour I spent training Cole and the 4 other junior engineers who'd rotated through our division. I understood something that Beverly and the rest of Apex's executive team apparently didn't. Institutional knowledge is only valuable when the institution can retain it. At 55, I'd seen enough corporate cycles to recognize the pattern. Companies hire experience, then systematically devalue it in favor of youth and presentation skills. They promote the people who look good in meetings while depending on the people who actually build the solutions to keep covering for their limitations. I'd become Apex's structural backbone, invisible but essential, supporting everything while getting none of the recognition. My wife Sarah had watched this dynamic play out over dinner conversations for years. At 52, she understood the financial implications better than I wanted to admit. We had a mortgage, 2 kids in college, and my retirement savings weren't where they needed to be for someone my age. Walking away from Apex wasn't just about professional pride. It was about our family's financial security. But Sarah also knew something else about me that Apex's management apparently missed. I had limits. The emergency client call happened Friday morning at 6:18 a.m. State Transportation Authority's chief engineer, Norman Butler, had discovered critical structural concerns in the Route 27 overpass expansion, stress fractures in the support columns that conflicted with our original load calculations. The state inspection team was showing measurement patterns that didn't match our engineering specifications, and Norman couldn't determine whether the fractures indicated design flaws or construction errors. Cole called me at 6:24 a.m., voice tight with panic. "Garrett, I need you on this call immediately. Norman is asking technical questions about the load distribution calculations, and I can't explain the structural engineering logic. He's threatening to terminate the contract and report us to state authorities." I was already awake, drinking coffee in my kitchen, checking weather conditions for our active job sites on my tablet. My reading glasses were on the counter next to my blood pressure medication, reminders that I wasn't the 29-year-old who'd started in construction anymore. My back ached from 25 years of job site inspections, and my hands showed the calluses and scars of someone who'd actually built things before managing their construction. I let the phone ring 3 times before answering. What specifically is he asking about? The weight distribution calculations for the expansion columns. He's saying our load-bearing specifications failed to account for seasonal temperature stress, and he wants to know why our structural analysis didn't predict the fracture patterns. I don't know how to explain the decision tree logic. I knew exactly how to explain it because I designed that load distribution system in 2010 and spent 4 weeks teaching Cole the engineering reasoning behind using flexible joint connections for thermal expansion. He'd apparently forgotten the principles I'd drilled into him about coefficient calculations and material stress tolerances. "I'll be on the call," I said. "Send me the meeting link." At 6:28 a.m., I joined the video conference. 14 people from the State Transportation Authority. Cole looking exhausted and stressed. Norman Butler looking furious. "Garrett, thank God," Cole said when my video connected. "Norman has some technical questions about the structural specifications." Norman didn't waste time with pleasantries. Mr. Stone, your structural design failed to prevent stress fractures in the support columns. Before we discuss terminating this contract and filing engineering violations, I need to understand why your load calculations allowed these fractures to occur. I opened my laptop, pulled up the structural documentation I'd created 6 years earlier, began walking Norman through the technical reasoning for every engineering decision, every load distribution layer, every thermal expansion allowance. 32 minutes of explaining structural engineering concepts to a room full of state officials and compliance officers who needed to understand why concrete and steel behaved the way they did under different temperature conditions. Halfway through explaining the coefficient calculations for the third time, I realized something fundamental. I was doing exactly what I'd done for 9 years. Solving problems that Cole couldn't solve, maintaining client relationships that Cole couldn't manage, providing expertise that Apex valued at $12,000 while paying Cole $180,000 to take credit for my work. I looked at Cole's face on the video call. He was nodding along, trying to look engaged, but I could see the blank expression that meant he didn't understand the technical details he should have mastered years ago. The same expression I'd seen hundreds of times when I'd covered for his limitations in client meetings, project reviews, and technical presentations. At 7:02 a.m., while explaining the thermal expansion methodology for the fourth time to a state administrator who still didn't understand the joint connection algorithms, I made a decision that would change everything. I stopped talking mid-sentence, closed my laptop, looked directly into the camera. Norman, I apologize, but I need to step away from this call. Cole can address your remaining questions. The conference room went silent. Cole's face went white. Garrett, wait. I disconnected from the call, shut down my laptop, walked upstairs to my bedroom where Sarah was getting ready for work. She was a bank manager, had been for 15 years, and understood corporate dynamics as well as anyone. "You're home early," she said, confused. "I thought you had that emergency state call." "I did. I left." "You left in the middle of the call?" "In the middle of explaining something that Cole should be able to explain himself, if he's worth $18,000 as vice president of engineering." Sarah sat down on the bed, watching me carefully. After 23 years of marriage, she could read my expressions better than anyone. She'd seen me come home frustrated from work countless times, but this was different. This was me finally drawing a line after years of being taken advantage of. "What are you doing, Garrett?" Something I should have done 8 months ago when I realized this company values presentation skills over actual competence. "I'm not covering for Cole anymore. If he can't answer state engineering questions, that's Apex's problem, not mine." Sarah nodded slowly. She'd watched me train Cole, had listened to me complain about his promotions while my salary stayed flat. She'd seen the stress this dynamic created, the way it affected my sleep and my confidence. More importantly, she'd done the math on our family finances and knew that at 55, I couldn't afford to stay somewhere that didn't value my contributions appropriately. At 7:38 a.m., my phone started ringing. "Cole." I declined the call. At 7:45 a.m., text message from Cole, "Garrett, please call me back. Norman is asking questions I can't answer, and he's threatening to pull the contract and report us to state authorities." I didn't respond. At 8:14 a.m., another call. "Beverly Walsh." I declined. At 8:17 a.m., voicemail notification. I didn't listen to it. By 8:30 a.m., I'd received 18 calls and 31 text messages from various people at Apex. I turned my phone to airplane mode and went for a walk around the neighborhood. Here's what I learned later about what was happening at Apex while I was walking. Cole couldn't answer state engineering questions. He tried to deflect, to schedule follow-up calls, to promise detailed written responses. Norman Butler wasn't accepting deflections. He wanted immediate answers about the structural fractures. Or he was terminating the $38 million annual contract and filing engineering violations with state authorities. Without me on the call, Cole had no answers. He tried to explain the load distribution calculations and got the structural logic wrong. He tried to defend the thermal expansion specifications and contradicted the system documentation. When Norman asked about coefficient calculations for different steel grades under temperature stress, Cole admitted he'd need to research that and get back to you. Norman Butler had been working with our structural designs for 6 years. He knew the difference between someone who understood the engineering and someone who was reading from notes. By 8:42 a.m., Norman had ended the call and emailed Apex's CEO, Dennis Crawford, formally notifying him that the state was suspending all ongoing work, pending a comprehensive structural audit and possible engineering violations. Suspending work on a $38 million annual contract gets CEO attention very quickly. By 9:30 a.m., Dennis had called an emergency executive meeting. By 10:12 a.m., they determined they needed me on a call with the state to salvage the relationship. By 10:18 a.m., Beverly was calling me again. I was home from my walk by then, drinking water in my kitchen, phone still in airplane mode. Sarah was working from home that morning, managing loan applications on her laptop at the kitchen table. She looked up from her computer when I walked in. "You're really doing this. I'm really doing this. They can't have it both ways. Either I'm valuable enough to pay me appropriately and promote me based on my actual contributions, or I'm just a technical specialist. They can compensate with a $12,000 tip while promoting the person I trained into a VP position." They chose the latter. Now they get to see what that choice costs. Sarah closed her laptop. She'd been handling our family finances for years, knew exactly what my walking away from Apex could mean for our mortgage payments, our kids' college tuition, our retirement planning. But she also knew what staying was costing me in terms of professional respect and personal satisfaction. "What's your plan?" "I'm going to let them sweat for a while. Then I'm going to start making some phone calls." At 11 a.m., I turned my phone back on. 47 missed calls, 68 text messages, 12 voicemails. I listened to the most recent voicemail from Dennis Crawford himself. "Garrett, this is Dennis. I understand you had to step away from the state call this morning. I need you to call me immediately. We have a situation that requires your expertise, and I want to discuss how we can resolve this together. Please call me as soon as you get this message." I deleted the voicemail, didn't call back. At 11:52 a.m., someone knocked on my front door. Beverly Walsh standing on my porch in business attire, looking stressed and slightly desperate. The fact that the VP of Human Resources had driven to my house on a Friday morning told me everything I needed to know about how badly the state call had gone. I opened the door but didn't invite her inside. "Beverly, what do you need?" She took a breath, clearly frustrated at being kept on the porch. "Dennis needs you to join a call with Norman Butler at 2 p.m. today. The state is threatening to terminate the contract and file engineering violations unless we can provide satisfactory answers to their structural questions. And Cole wasn't able to address their concerns this morning. That's unfortunate. Cole is the vice president of engineering. Surely he should be capable of addressing technical questions about structural systems he's been presenting to the state for the past 4 years. Garrett, we both know you designed those systems. You have the technical expertise we need on this call. Then perhaps Apex should have considered that before promoting Cole to VP and offering me a $12,000 loyalty bonus." Beverly's expression hardened. "This isn't about your compensation. This is about a $38 million client relationship that's in jeopardy and possible state violations that could damage our entire business." "No, Beverly, this is exactly about my compensation. It's about Apex deciding that 9 years of building the structural frameworks that generate $38 million in annual revenue is worth $12,000, while the person who learned everything from me gets $180,000 to present my work. You made that decision. Now you get to live with the consequences. Are you refusing to participate in client calls? Because that could be considered insubordination." "I'm not refusing anything. I'm simply unavailable for the 2 p.m. call. I have personal matters to attend to." "What personal matters? That's private. If Apex needs technical expertise to maintain the state relationship, I suggest asking your vice president of engineering. That's why you're paying him $180,000, isn't it? For his structural engineering expertise." I closed the door before she could respond. The 2 p.m. call with the state happened without me. I know this because Dennis sent me an email at 2:46 p.m., describing it as a difficult conversation that would have benefited from your technical input. Translation: it was a disaster. What I learned later through a former colleague was that Cole had attempted to answer Norman's questions again, gotten the structural protocols wrong again, and Norman had ended the call after 27 minutes. The state formally terminated their contract at 3:15 p.m. that afternoon and filed preliminary engineering violations about Apex's construction practices. $38 million in annual revenue gone, plus potential state investigations into our structural engineering standards. Over the weekend, I'd also contacted 6 former colleagues who'd left Apex over the past 4 years for competitor firms. I asked each of them the same question. Would their current employer be interested in someone with my background and expertise? All 6 said yes immediately. The seventh said their firm wasn't currently hiring senior management but would create a position if I was interested. By Monday morning at 8 a.m., I had 4 formal interview requests. By Monday afternoon, I had 3 preliminary compensation discussions that all started above $135,000 base salary with significantly better bonus structures than Apex had ever offered. I showed up to Dennis Crawford's 8 a.m. meeting exactly on time Tuesday morning. He was waiting in the large conference room with Beverly and Hugh Parker, Apex's chief operating officer. The presence of the COO told me they understood the seriousness of the situation. "Garrett, thank you for coming," Dennis began. "I want to start by saying we value your contributions to Apex and we recognize there may have been some miscommunication about your role in compensation." I sat down but said nothing. Let them do the talking. "The situation with the state contract was unfortunate," Dennis continued. "We've lost a significant client relationship, and in retrospect, we should have better supported Cole with technical expertise during that call." "Cole is your vice president of engineering," I said. "Why would he need my support?" The 3 of them exchanged glances. Hugh spoke up. "Garrett, we all know you've been instrumental in developing our structural engineering methodology. Your technical expertise is unique within our organization. Cole has strong leadership skills and strategic vision, but he benefits from collaboration with someone of your technical depth. So you're saying Cole can't actually do the job you promoted him into without my assistance?" Another exchange of glances. Beverly tried a different approach. "We want to discuss a compensation adjustment that better reflects your value to the organization. We're prepared to offer you a salary increase to $125,000 effective immediately, along with an expanded bonus structure tied to division performance. $125,000, a $15,000 raise, still $55,000 less than Cole's new salary for someone who actually built the systems that Cole presented. That's a generous offer," I said neutrally. "What would my title be? You'd remain senior project manager," Dennis said, "but with enhanced responsibilities and recognition of your technical leadership role. So I'd be making $125,000 as a senior project manager, while Cole makes $180,000 as VP. Despite the fact that I built the methodologies he can't explain and maintain the client relationships he can't manage without my assistance." "The offer sounds nice," I said, standing up, "but I'm going to decline. Garrett, please reconsider." Beverly said quickly, "We can discuss this further. The compensation package is negotiable, I'm sure it is. But here's what's not negotiable. My understanding that Apex's compensation philosophy values presentation over substance. Cole is excellent at presenting work to clients. I'm excellent at building the work he presents. For 9 years, I accepted that dynamic because I believed competence would eventually be rewarded appropriately. Thursday's announcement proved that belief was incorrect. "We're trying to correct that now," Hugh said. "You're trying to correct it after losing a $38 million client because you promoted someone who couldn't defend his own work without my assistance. That's not compensation philosophy. That's crisis management." I walked to the door, then turned back. "One more thing. I trained Cole everything he knows about structural engineering. I built the systems, I developed the methodologies, I maintained the client relationships. And you paid me $12,000 to mentor him into a position paying $55,000 more than mine. If you want to understand why you lost the state contract, that's your answer. You systematically undervalued the person who generated your intellectual property while promoting the person who commoditized it. That's not a sustainable business model." I left the conference room at 8:34 a.m. By 8:40 a.m., I'd cleaned out my desk. By 8:47 a.m., I'd surrendered my building access badge to reception. By 9 a.m., I was driving home. Sarah was working from home that morning. She looked up from her laptop when I walked in at 9:15. "You quit?" "I quit. Just like that?" "Just like that." They offered me $125,000 to stay and fix their state contract problem, while Cole keeps his $180,000 VP title for work he can't actually do. I declined. "Do you have another job lined up?" "I have 3 interviews scheduled this week, 2 preliminary compensation discussions that started above $140,000, and a pretty strong negotiating position because every conversation starts with, 'We heard what happened with Apex and the state contract.' Word spreads fast in the construction industry." By Wednesday, I had 3 formal job offers. The best came from Meridian Engineering Solutions, a competitor firm that specialized in state infrastructure projects. They offered $148,000 per thousand lead relief, 40-45 of base full benefits, and a $15,000 signing bonus. The offer came from a company that had been trying to break into the regional transportation market for 3 years. They wanted someone who could build structural frameworks for state agencies, someone who knew the market, understood the technical requirements, and had relationships with potential clients. Someone exactly like me. I accepted their offer on Thursday morning, started the following Monday. Here's what happened at Apex after I left. Without my technical expertise, Cole couldn't rebuild the state relationship. He tried to schedule calls with Norman Butler, but Norman refused to engage. The state moved their infrastructure contracts to Meridian Engineering approximately 5 weeks after I joined. Norman Butler called me directly at my new firm and asked if Meridian could provide the same level of structural sophistication that I'd previously delivered at Apex. I said yes. He asked me to build him a proposal. 3 weeks later, Meridian had a $42 million contract with the State Transportation Authority, $4 million more than Apex had been charging them. Over the next 8 months, 3 other major clients reduced their contracts with Apex or terminated them entirely. Each situation followed the same pattern: technical questions that Cole couldn't answer, structural performance issues that he couldn't diagnose, state compliance concerns that he couldn't address. Apex's revenue dropped by approximately $58 million in the first year after I left. They hired 2 new senior engineers to try to rebuild their technical capabilities, but institutional knowledge doesn't transfer instantly. The frameworks I'd built over 9 years took years to replicate, and the new hires didn't have the client relationships or industry reputation that I'd developed over 2 decades. Cole lasted 10 months at Apex after I left. Without my technical support, his limitations became obvious to everyone. He was demoted back to project manager at $85,000 minus a $95,000 pay cut, minus, then resigned 5 months later. Last I heard, he was working for a regional construction firm doing basic project coordination, making approximately $70,000. At 55 years old, I'm making more money than I ever thought possible and actually enjoying my work again. Meridian promoted me to Senior Director of Infrastructure Engineering at $18,500 plus equity 18 months after I joined. You know what I learned from the whole experience? The most dangerous employee to undervalue isn't the one who complains loudly about compensation or threatens to quit. It's the one who quietly builds all your institutional knowledge, maintains your critical client relationships, and generates your competitive advantages until the day they decide they're done subsidizing your poor judgment. Because when that person leaves, they don't just take their individual contributions with them. They take the foundational expertise that everyone else's performance depends on. Sometimes the greatest act of self-respect is teaching people how expensive their disrespect really is. And sometimes at 55, you finally understand that your expertise has value. You just have to find the people smart enough to recognize it. Companies will take advantage of your expertise for as long as you let them, but when you finally stop covering for their mistakes, they realize pretty quickly what they actually lost. The moment you stop being indispensable to those who refuse to value you properly, you become invaluable to those who recognize what you're really worth.